Good morning, everybody. Jasper here. Welcome to my day. Today, by the way, is Monday morning. It's around 7:15-ish. It's February the 21st. This will be my last video before starting my Appalachian Trail through hike attempt. My start date is the 24th of February. Wow. One more training day. Gray, chilly, damp. It's around freezing. So the temperature's gone up a little bit, which it tends to kind of go up and down a lot this time of year here in Ontario, Canada. One day it could be plus 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. The next day it could be minus 20 degrees Celsius. But that's quite normal as we push towards March and the spring month. Woo! Training day. We have a major climb ahead of us. We're training at Blue Mountain, Ontario. 3,000 feet elevation gain. And these climbs are quite steep, but it's up and down, up and down, up and down. 3 peaks, if you will. Summiting Blue Mountain 3 times over a 20-kilometer, 12-mile kind of hike. And a 3,000 feet elevation gain. Yeah, wow. So the big day's almost here. Tomorrow afternoon I get my COVID test, which I need for flying on on Wednesday morning to Atlanta, Georgia from Toronto. Staying at my daughter's house in Toronto tomorrow night. And then the next morning, the 23rd, leaving early to Toronto Airport, my flight to Atlanta. Wow. Already amazing. Yeah. All of a sudden, it does become very real. Today's last video, well, few things to cover. First of all, my final pack weight. My final pack weight is going to be around 32 to 33 pounds. That's with all my food and more food than I actually need. That's with 1.5 liters of water, an 8-ounce fuel can, butane can for my stove. I am a coffee drinker and I do that several times a day. So that's okay, that weight. Of course, as I consume food, the weight goes down. And before you know it, it's into the 20s. And that's okay too. So I'm okay with that weight. But as I mentioned, today is one more training day. So let's get to that right now. Let's go. Right now, we've reached the flat area at the summit of Blue Mountain here in Ontario. This is our first summiting of the day, and I call this the 3 peaks, but it's only one peak that we do 3 times. We're about to start the descent back down from where we started earlier on kind of round 1, I guess, or lap 1 of our 3-peak 12-mile, 3,000-foot elevation gain training hike. The pack today. I am using my McKinley 65+10 Yukon pack. Now I use it for training. The pack itself weighs about 4 pounds, and then it's loaded with other things such as jugs of water, kind of redundant gear, anything to add weight. The training weight today is 36 pounds. And as I mentioned earlier, my start weight on the Appalachian Trail will be 32, 33 pounds, depending on a couple of factors. And as I also mentioned earlier, I always carry a little extra food. I'm the kind of hiker that, you know what, if I want to sit down on an afternoon and have an extra meal, I'm not going to kind of budget myself to a bar for breakfast, 2 bars for lunch, and a Mountain House meal for dinner. I simply don't do that. I like to be comfortable. And for me, I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. A little extra food on trail is always kind of comforting to me. And that's why I do that. But I actually could drop, probably 3 pounds, maybe even 4 pounds of food weight if I wish to, for my start. Keeping in mind that I can resupply at Neal's Gap only 3 days in. So that's fine too. Beautiful view as we start the descent of Georgian Bay, the community of Collingwood, Ontario below. We have some no trespassing signs here, but what we're actually doing is we're actually crossing the Bruce Trail. And the Bruce Trail in the winter months is closed through this section and detoured to a different area. And if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that we've through hiked the Bruce Trail. We've also yo-yoed the Bruce Trail. Some gorgeous views from up here. Oh, you have a great day, girls. Bye. Trail runners training, which is always nice. We have some beautiful views from up here. Castle Glen. Please, no trespassing. But you know what? The Castle Glen has to be the busiest hiking trail for miles around here. I think they put their signs up as a liability kind of, what is that, disclosure or whatever. But everybody hikes through there. There's a very busy trail system to the ruins of an old castle. Whew. Okay. Making our first descent of our training day. And again, our final training day before we start the Appalachian Trail. By the way, we will be doing, I finalized the idea in my mind, we will be doing the approach trail, which will be, I'm guessing, part of day one. I wasn't going to include that in day one. I was going to include just from Springer Mountain in day one, but you know what? We're going to be hiking it. It was at one point part of the Appalachian Trail. From the visitor center to Neal's Gap, it's around 40 miles. So hey, my day one will start as I walk through the archway at the visitor center. Okay, let's keep training. Oh yeah. So, a few other things to speak about this morning. As I'd mentioned, our start date's the 24th. I'm flying on the 23rd to Atlanta, spending the night in Sandy Springs. I have Ron's shuttle service picking me up on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. and taking me to the visitor center. And I've only met that gentleman on the telephone, not in person, but he sounds like a really good guy offering a great service. And if I think about it, I'll just post his phone number on the screen now for people to look at because he's offering a great service. Also, another young lady that got back to me when I threw out there that I needed transportation was Michelle at White Blaze Shuttle Service, I believe it's called. I'll also throw her number up there now. She offered a great service also. It just so happened I'd booked with Ron at that point. So yeah, our shuttle service I'm getting from Sandy Springs is with Ron. He's picking me up right at my hotel on Thursday morning and taking me to the visitor center. So thank you for that, Ron. It's the fee for the shuttle service is $90. They all seem to be about the same, which is a great rate for a great service. So yeah, that is that information. Now, I think I'd mentioned this already. Well, I mentioned the pack I'm using for training, but the pack I use on trail is an Osprey Exos 58 litre large frame. In the large frame, it actually equates to a 61 litre pack and comes in at around 2.5 pounds. So it's at the top end of an ultralight kind of weight pack, but it's very comfortable. It's very durable. I've used it on, oh gosh, what have I used it on? Well, I've used it on the Bruce Trail. I've used it on the Oak Ridges Trail, the Colorado Trail, several 2, 3, single day, 4-day hikes, and I'll be using it on the Appalachian with no cause of concern. It's a great pack, with a great warranty, by the way. So that is a little bit of information about the pack. Micro spikes, I did decide to take micro spikes with me after throwing that out onto the Appalachian Trail Facebook page, class of 22. I threw out there a survey just saying micro spikes, yes or no. Unanimously, it was yes. And it was also unanimous that I can probably dump them after the Smokies. So that's my plan with those. Strategy, planning. How much do I plan? That was a question that came in. Well, first of all, I never plan too much. There's an old saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. So I never plan too much because it's such a variable on any trail. Although I am aware, excuse me, I am aware where to get all the information from. I use the AWOL PDF format guide, also gut hooks, far out. Oh, excuse me, my nose is running this morning, just the temperature, or the Far Out app. That gives me an awful lot of information. And I plan really just for 2 to 4 days, maybe 5 days ahead whilst I'm on trail. So, for instance, I already know what's going to go down as far as what's available to me on the first week of trail. And at camp, I review these things and extend that planning the next day and the next day and so on. So I'm always somewhere between 4 days to a week ahead in my mind of planning and what's coming up on trail. And so that kind of covers how I plan for the trail. Now, something else that I'd like to talk about today, and I guess for some people maybe it's a touchy subject, I don't know, but I've been contacted by a few people that have said to me, how can we support your channel? And I've said, well, first of all, the number one way anyone can support my channel is by subscribing. Please, please, please do subscribe to Trail Name Jasper, my YouTube channel. Like, share, comment, all these things go a long way in helping my channel grow. Also, I have a second YouTube channel, which is Gary Clayton Photography, because up until COVID coming, I was a wedding photographer and landscape photographer. And COVID destroyed that business for me. We had no weddings and so on and so on and so on. And although I've still maintained my landscape photography, I just didn't have the venues to sell my landscape images. But anyhow, that is still a passion and it's still a pursuit, and I will still be doing that when I return from the Appalachian Trail. I'll still be pursuing my landscape photography. So do check out that channel. That's Gary Clayton Photography on YouTube. Now, other people have also asked me, how can we support you financially on your hike? And that's where it becomes a bit of a touchy subject. So first of all, let me say that I did budget what I believe to be sufficient money to cover my expenses on this hike. However, I have already had several people contact me and contribute financially to my hike. And that, believe me, is very, very, very much appreciated. I am just a working staff, so it really, really, really appreciated. And I found from what we've done already is I just tell people the best way to financially support me, if a person chooses to, it can be $1, $5, whatever, is simply e-transfer to trailnamejasper@gmail.com. So that's trailnamejasper@gmail.com. I'll put that email on the screen. And again, any financial support is greatly appreciated. It's so encouraging because it shows me that people actually want me to succeed and are trying to help me succeed in my through hike attempt. And it does go a long way in just helping in general, just making life that much easier to accomplish the task. So I very much appreciate all those forms of support And I thank you all in advance for that, because again, it's all very much appreciated. Everything from a view of one of my videos, a click on the like button, a click on the subscribe button, or some kind of monetary support. It's all very much appreciated, believe me. Okay, that takes care of that. Now, we've talked about planning, and as I mentioned, I use the AWOL guide and the Gut Hugs or Far Out Appalachian Trail guide. We've covered that already. I think we're pretty much ready to go. Again, the start date is the 24th. I want to be, I'm not going to say fast, because I am not a fast hiker. I'm 64 years old. I'll be 65 on trail. So I'm not a fast hiker. In fact, I was talking to a couple of different Triple Crown holders, and they both told me the same thing. And that is, whatever your average was on, say, the Colorado Trail, and for me that was 15 miles per day. That includes, of course, my Neros and Zeros and all that kind of stuff taken into account, stopping early because of bad weather, going over the passes and so on. They said whatever your average was on that, take away a couple of miles, so maybe 13, maybe 12, maybe 13 miles per day would be equivalent on the Appalachian Trail. Now, okay, I was hoping for an average of 15 miles a day on the Appalachian Trail, but I believe, well, I know the terrain is much more rugged than it might be on the Colorado. Even the Colorado is a much higher elevation. I'm talking between 10 and 13 plus thousand feet. And several 14ers in there if you want to summit some of those 14,000 plus feet mountain peaks, which I did not on my trail, by the way. So the air density, the lack of, was significant on the Colorado Trail, but not overly challenging, but you notice it. So that would slow you down a little bit. And the climbs on the Colorado Trail tend to be long. Some of the climbs you're climbing pretty much all day, just kind of going up with little kind of breaks in between. The terrain on the Appalachian, I believe, is significantly more rugged than it was on the Colorado. Don't get me wrong, there were some challenging sections on the Colorado, but they were just challenging sections. Whereas I think the Appalachian Trail is pretty much 80% challenging sections. So that's a little bit about my plan as far as the distances and time. You know what? I live in Ontario, Canada, and I can ask for 6 months in the US, which should be granted. There should be no reason why it wouldn't be. So yeah, I'm looking at a maximum of 6 months, which would be pretty damn cool if I could summit Catartan in August, because August is my birthday month. So we'll see about that. Yeah, wow, excited, looking forward to meeting everyone out there, looking forward to staying in some of the hostels. By the way, don't let me forget this. Please, I should have mentioned this earlier. For when you're watching someone's YouTube videos of any trail, it's usually several days a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks behind the actual fact. It's not real time because they have to get to town, they have to edit and so on and so on. They need signals and stuff to upload. We all need that. Great. But I have a Facebook page, and that Facebook page group, if you will, is Jasper's Appalachian Trail Thru Hike 2022. Please join that group. That will give you up-to-date, at real time as it happens information. So as long as there's some way of me having a signal to transmit or upload to Facebook, there'll be short videos on there. There'll be still images, there'll be updates of my daily mileage, how I'm doing, where I'm staying, where I am, where I'm going, what my plans are. And that will be all in real time. So please take a look at that page, because that also is a way of supporting me. And it's also a way of getting actual, real, as it happens information. Much more readily than on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel will eventually have a full series of YouTube videos on the Appalachian Trail, created by me from my thru hike. But that's not going to be right now, that's for sure. That takes time. Okay, so that's a little bit more about that information, and again, how a person can stay up to date on what we're doing as far as my thru hike is concerned. Okay, you know what? I think with that said, because my nose is running again, it's just the temperature, I'm going to sign off. We're going to call it a day. So this will be my last kind of thru hike video of the Appalachian Trail, class of 2022, I hope. And hey, I look forward to seeing all you hikers out on the trail this year. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.